Committee. I'll just read out for the members that are present our rules, which are: welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee. We are recording the meeting this evening using our webcasting system. The webcast will be transmitted live and also be available on the Council's website following the meeting. Generally, the public seating area are not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using the public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and the possible use of those images and sound recording for webcasting or training purposes. I have the discretion to stop or suspend the recording of the meeting should this be necessary to maintain the proper running order of the meeting. This is a meeting of the Council held in public. It is not a public meeting. All mobile devices should be switched off or set to silent so that the meeting is not interrupted by ringtones. Anyone else intending to film or audio record any part of the meeting is asked to do so in a manner that does not disrupt the meeting. Please refrain from filming the public gallery or public speakers on items. If the fire alarm sounds, leave by the nearest exit and officers will advise when it is safe to return to the meeting. Before we begin this evening's meeting, I would like to remind members to speak directly into the microphone to enable those present and those watching online to be able to hear the proceedings. Finally, please could members remember to address your speeches to me as the chairman. Procedure for each item. The committee report is taken as read by the Planning Committee. The Planning Officer will present a report and committee members will ask any points of clarification. The meeting will allow those who have given notice that they wish to address the committee on a particular application to do so. Each person will be invited to come forward to the table at the front of the public seating area and will have 3 minutes to give their views. Once all comments have been given, the meeting will then continue for members of the committee to discuss the applications and reach a decision. No further comments may be made by members of the public. The committee should limit discussions to material planning considerations related to the development application. Commentary on non-planning related matters or overtly political statements are not permitted as they could have an impact on the integrity of the planning process. Summary comments should be concise and relate to the development application being considered. Thank you. I'll go first into apologies for absence. Have we any apologies for absence?
No apologies.
No, thank you. Item 2, which is declarations of interest and lobbying. Have we had any? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just wanted to confirm that I was asked for comments by the Echo newspaper last week, just in regards to the application for long riding. But just to confirm, I'm coming here today with an open mind and we'll take all the basis and all the facts for each application. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. So we've got with the lobbying. Oh, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to say item number 6. The site there is located about half a kilometre from my home address, but I have no pecuniary interest in it and obviously come with an open mind on that particular item. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3, confirmations of the minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 16th of October. Everybody in agreement with those? Thank you. Yeah? Yeah, okay. Right, thank you.
To take a vote, please. So I think.
So,
Can we have a show of
yes, we
hands
have
for
a,
those?
yeah, please.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay. Right, item 4, which is planning application number 2301018 out. Outline application with all matters reserved except for access for up to. Keith,
Sorry,
no,
Mo.
Kevin.
And I know it's over. Susanna sent it through as quick as she could today for us to get this extra information that's on the agenda. Unfortunately, of our IT system, I couldn't open it on that, and this is the first time I've seen it. There's a lot of information there, and I'd like at least 10 minutes, to be honest with you, due diligence, so that I can go through it and make an honest decision rather than sort of just on the off the cuff, because it seems important that we, right.
Shall we do it now for everybody?
Yeah, it's got to be before this.
Everybody to read that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
we've
you.
got 10 minutes, yeah?
We'll just resume, for 10 minutes.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it 10 minutes, Chair? 10 minutes, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I absolutely did receive it. No, that's good, and it's brilliant. I don't know why it was like, but yeah, and I appreciate that, but I just couldn't open it. So, yeah, that's the only reason. Yeah, definitely did.
Has everybody read that now? Okay, thank you. So can I pass this on to Katie, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Larkin. Sorry to wait for the presentation to load. Yes, thank you, Councillor Larkin. So this application relates to land east of Bakers Farm Close, Southend Road in Wickford. It's for an outline application with all matters reserved except for access for up to 250 dwellings with associated landscaping, open space, drainage infrastructure and associated works, and there is an amendment to the public right-of-way. First, I'd like to draw your attention to the update sheet. I'm pleased that you've all managed to read it, as it is quite a lengthy one, and was sent round this afternoon to you all to view. But on the update sheet, it refers to comments from Shotgate Parish Council have been uploaded onto the update sheet. Also, there are officers' comments provided in response to Shotgate Parish Council's comments. There's also comments revising Anglian Water's comments. So Anglian Water did comment and they are within the main body of the report. However, we've had further ongoing discussions with them and a condition 6 has been revised as a result. Also, we've had comments from Environmental Health regarding air quality. They were not reported in the report, but they do not raise an objection subject to conditions which a couple of the conditions were already within the committee report. However, I have revised a noise assessment condition, condition 16, and also we've had a couple of additional neighbour comments since the publication of the committee report. So that's what the update sheet is referring to. Moving on to the presentation. So in front of you is the site location plan. So the sites are outlined in red, which you can see in front of you. So that's the site to the east of Bakers Farm, but just off Southend Road in Wickford. If I take you to the aerial image, which in front of you, the site has been outlined in red. So the application site covers 16.7 hectares of land to the eastern edge of Wickford, which is mainly flat scrubland, formerly used for agriculture. It's bounded by Southend Road to the south, residential areas to the west, a railway line to the northwest of the site, and Shotgate Water Recycling Centre to the north. Nearby, further east is Shot Farm, which includes a Grade 2 listed building farmhouse, an industrial area, agricultural fields, and directly adjacent to the site to the east is Bartlett Park, which is Wickford Football Club. Public footpath 104 does cross the site, and I'll show you where this is in a moment, but it does cross the site east to west. The site is within the Greenbelt and is within flood zone 1, which is low risk of flooding. Before you, just a couple of pictures of the site. It is quite overgrown with scrubland. So as you can see there from the photographs in front of you, one of those photographs were taken actually along the public right of way going into the site. Also, in front of you is the site plan. I don't think you can see the detail of that very well, but if I just go through the proposal. So the proposal seeks outline planning permission for up to 250 homes with access via a new roundabout onto Southend Road, which is southern end of the site, and additional pedestrian, cycle and emergency links from Alicia Walk. It includes 50% affordable housing and 11.2 hectares of public open space, which will also act as a landscape buffer between Anglian Water Recycling Facility and the nearest parcel of development, and amenities areas, play areas as well will be included, and sustainable drainage features as well. Heritage and ecology enhancements are included, as the World War II pillboxes are being retained on site and they're being preserved and improved for ecology purposes. Also, the vegetation site will be improved as well, and the hedgerows and biodiversity through wildlife ponds and planting will also be on the site. If I can show you where the public right of way is, I don't know if you'll be able to see. Can you see my cursor? Yeah. So currently the public right of way runs across the site and then towards the level crossing railway. So that's where the public right of way is currently at the moment. That crosses the site. As part of the proposal, it's outlined planning permission has been applied for, and access is one of the matters that we are considering. So in front of you is the roundabout, which will be the primary vehicle access proposed off the A129, which is Southend Road, and so it's this located to the south of the site. Here is an image of the emergency and pedestrian access onto Alicia Walk, which is to the west of the site, and that is just a secondary access point. In front of you are some illustrative CGIs as well, which will show you sort of what the development will look like if planning permission is granted. These are the key issues that we considered as part of the application and are within the report, but I'm going to pick out a couple that I will talk about. So as I said earlier, the site lies within the green belt, but has been assessed under the revised MPPF and PPG guidance. Officers consider land to qualify as grey belt, meaning development is not inappropriate if it meets golden rules, which in this case it does. It's going to be delivering 50% affordable housing, significant green infrastructure, and improvements to local services as well. So it's considered to meet the golden rules that are under paragraph 156 of the MPPF. If I talk about water quality, because as I mentioned, that to the north of the site is Anglian Water Recycling Centre. So Anglian Water raised concerns about the capacity at Wickford Water Recycling Centre. However, there has been ongoing discussions between officers and Anglian Water to resolve the water capacity issues. There is a case law which establishes where there is overlap between planning controls, another regulatory regime. The existence of the latter is a material planning consideration. However, the LPA is entitled to rely on separate regulatory regimes under the Water Industry Act. A condition has been recommended that will restrict occupation until capacity issues are resolved. This is condition 6. This allows for an on or off-site solution to come forward. With regards to odour, this is covered in the sort of the neighbour amenity section of the report. Again, it's next to the Anglian Water Recycling Facility, so we've had to consider odour. An odour study has informed the site layout of the site. If I go back to the site plan, actually, I'll show you what I'm going to talk about. But the odour study for the site layout, so odour modelling shows the detection odour contours, which extends 270 metres from the Anglian Water facility. The development avoids placing residential buildings within this area, so they've proposed a 280 metre cordon sanitaire, which has been proposed and is recommended as a planning condition to retain this in perpetuity. So odour impact on future users is assessed as negative, and Anglian Water Environment Health has raised no objection subject to conditions, and that condition is condition 53 of the report. So the odour, or the buffer, I'll call it, from the edge of the site, Anglian Water Recycling Centre, extends right until this dotted line here, which shows no development can be built beyond that dotted line. And as I say, that has been conditioned at condition 53 of the committee report, that no development can go beyond that line. Also, on rail and pedestrian safety, the development would significantly increase footfall at the level crossing, which is deemed one of the highest risk crossings in the region by Network Rail. Network Rail did initially object, but has now agreed to withdraw its objection. That's subject to a condition requiring closure of the crossing before more than 50 dwellings are occupied. A safe alternative off-site pedestrian route will be delivered via Southend Road towards Hill Avenue. This includes new controlled crossings and a 3 metre wide shared footway and cycleway. I mean, there will be constraints under the existing bridge along Southend Road where widening is not feasible. So a short section will require compromise in width. These improvements ensure safe access to school and local amenities and are supported by both Network Rail and Essex County Council Highway Authority. There is a gramping condition that's been imposed at condition 5, which restricts the occupation and the closure of the crossing. With regards to heritage, the site contains 2 World War II pillboxes and part of an anti-tank ditch, which are non-designated heritage assets. While the development will alter these settings, these features will be retained, paired and integrated into the public realm with measures to enhance public understanding of what these are. The proposal does not harm nearby listed buildings, so there is Shop Farm further east, so it's not considered to harm Shop Farm, and archaeology investigations will be secured via conditions. Officers do consider that the public benefits for this scheme does outweigh the harm on the non-designated heritage assets, which including housing, infrastructure and open space have been put forward. The site is in an area of higher archaeology potential with evidence of late Bronze Age and early medieval periods, including Iron Age settlements nearby, with a projected Roman road and burial ground. Essex County Council Historic Environment officers have advised that no objection subject to recommended conditions, and these can be found at conditions 49, 50, 51 and 13 of the officer's report. With regards to B&G and ecology, the application was submitted before the mandatory biodiversity net gain rules came into effect in 2024, but it still aims to deliver a 10% net gain through on-site habitat creation and off-site compensation. An ecological impact assessment identified significant ecology features, including reptiles of county importance, breeding and wintering birds and foraging birds. However, mitigation measures, including a reptile mitigation strategy, a 5.19 hectare nature area with diverse habitats, wildlife enhancements and sensitive lighting as well. ECC Ecology supports this approach, subject to conditions, and these conditions be found at conditions 17, 42, 7, 8 and 54 of the committee report, and they relate to ecology and biodiversity. Plan application, this plan application has been recommended to be granted outline planning permission subject to no calling powers by the Secretary of State. The completion of Section 106 agreement to secure the obligations set out in Section 6 of the committee report, and subject to conditions set out on page 89 beyond, and those conditions that have been amended in the update sheet. So thank you. Oh, thingy. Sorry, I said thank you, but I'm finished. Sorry, in front of you. This is what you were waiting for, this bit. Yeah, sorry. So you've got Section 106 infrastructure. This sets out the non-monetary and monetary requirements that are also in the committee report as well. So I don't know if you want to take a minute just to have a look at those. So you got your education, your healthcare, your bus services, employment and skills, open space and sports, health and wellbeing, and RAMS, which is all monetary, and obviously non-monetary being the affordable housing. Off-site highway improvements to South End Road and the on-site sort of open space. That's all also being provided part of the development. Planning balance before you. So it talks about the positives and negatives. So obviously it provides significant market and affordable housing. As I said before, it's 50% affordable. The council doesn't have a current 5-year land supply, and the published figure at the moment is 1.88 years. However, we are currently estimating a 2.2 year 5-year land supply. So the development does comply with the golden rules. I said that earlier about the 50% affordable, the infrastructure has been provided in the open space. Social benefits being new market and affordable homes. Open space that's been provided, which is 11.2 hectares or 67% of the whole site. Closure of the level crossing and delivery of safe alternative routes along South End Road. Economic benefits as well. So you've got construction jobs, employment and skills training, local economic spends, new home bonuses, and you've got the environmental benefits, which are the extensive green and blue infrastructure such as SUDs, open site for the accessible ecology managed areas, promotion of sustainable transport through the provision of pedestrian cycle routes and upgrade to the existing public rights of way through the site, and the negative being a local level harm to landscape and the loss of freebie agricultural land. Sorry, thank you, I am done now.
Thank you, Katie. Clarifications. Mike.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple actually. Can I go through them both in due course. So first one, Katie, what happens? I've read the conditions in the report, but I'm still not quite clear. What happens if we find remains of a Roman road or some other significant archaeological finds when the site's being prepared, surveyed, whatever?
So there is a plan actually within the committee report that shows you the non-designated, so the pillboxes on site, the Roman road. So that actually is actually being retained in the Roman road itself is being retained in the open landscape area, which you'll see in front of you. But the archaeology conditions do require, let's find them. Oh, so at condition 13, so Essex County Council have recommended this condition to be imposed. So they have asked for excavation of the site, so that does need to be done. Obviously, carrying out those works, they'll need to submit a programme of archaeology investigations to Essex County Council, which needs to be in accordance with the written scheme of investigation. So that needs to be reviewed and assessed. Then obviously it talks about no development or preliminary groundworks of any kind within a phase shall take place until the completion of the programme of archaeology works. I mean, if the Roman road, obviously, as I said, within the report it does show you the indication of where it is, and it is being kept in the landscape area. But throughout the site and groundwork investigations, this will be looked at and obviously be recorded, and there will be on-site archaeologists as well when this is happening and taking place. So they will advise them if or what is discovered on site at that time.
The second one was, what form exactly would this cordon sanitaire take? I think it says in the report, doesn't it, there would be a cordon sanitaire around the site. What form exactly would that take?
So the cordon sanitaire is 280 metres from the boundary we've shared with Anglian Water Facility. So here in front of you, so this dotted line, which you maybe can't really see that well because it's quite a distance. So no development can take place beyond this dashed line. That has been secured by condition 53, I think I said. And that must be retained in perpetuity. So no development can take place beyond this dashed line. So that will remain as open space, basically.
So it's a stipulation, but it's not a physical barrier or anything like that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm surprised Councillor Baker didn't ask this one because he usually does. It says in the report there'll be 52% of public open space. I take it other than the pathway, there's currently no open space that's open to the public.
Yeah, that is correct. So the site is not currently open to the public. However, there is a public right-of-way that crosses the site, which public must stick to that public right-of-way. They shouldn't really go off that. So it's not open to the public except for the public right-of-way that crosses the site.
Okay, thanks. That's good. That's 52% more than we had before.
Yeah, so just to clarify, it's 67 in total. However, 52% of it will be publicly accessible. There are 15% that is not publicly accessible, and that will be restricted by B&G, basically.
Thank you very much. So I do know in the extra information we've got here that there could be potential destruction of heritage assets. What happens in the worst case scenario that these heritage assets are destroyed, and what is the council going to do to ensure that that doesn't happen, basically? Thank you.
So we've got two World War II pillboxes on site. At the moment, they're vandalised by youth, but there are conditions on there that will they are for retention. They will be included in the landscape, and there are conditions towards the end of the committee report that talks about their retention. They are, hold on a minute, I'll find them. Yeah, so the pillboxes will be surveyed. They will be repaired as part of the development. So that's condition 49. That requires the developer to do that. Also, we have anti-tank ditches that sort of crosses the site where there is no development down here in the roughly where my cursor is now. There's an anti-tank ditch, and also the Roman Road that we spoke about. But there will be on-site archaeology investigations. There will be archaeologists on site that will be advising. And the pillboxes, as I say, there are conditions to repair those that the developer must carry out, and will form part of the landscaping. So they should not be damaged in any way. Does that answer your question?
Okay, Sam. Kevin.
Yeah, just something that, and it's probably something you can't answer, it's something that worries me. We're talking about this, which is why it's very good to read this, I have to say, because it gave me something to really come back on, regarding the odour and the smell, and they won't be able to build any homes until that's all sorted out. My concern with that is, from experience, is how does that get triggered? And the reason why I say that, I know development over in Bursted, which got planning permission subject to a condition, and that they had to get an assessment done within 6 months. 7 years later, this council had done absolutely nothing about it, because we haven't got a system in place, as I understand it, that triggers that off. That actually says, you know, 6 months, you get the planning permission, you've got to show us in 6 months' time. We don't have a system on our system that says in 6 months' time, we contact them and say, have you done it? We haven't got that, or we never had that up to very, very recently. So I don't have any confidence, nothing what you said I've got any arguments with. I have an issue with, it's unusual to have a planning here where we haven't got the okay. We're talking about sewage now. We're not just, you know, water as such, it's sewage. And I have major concerns about that we as a council do not have anything in place to sort that problem out. That's my issue that I've got with this, and it's a major issue. My other issue, as always, is with the bus service. I can ask you, as I've said every time, when does it start? When does it finish? Who takes it up afterwards? But there's no point in that. But I do have a real concern that I've got no confidence in the council. No administration being, I'm not a point go any administration. I'm going to what we've got as a system, and I am talking up to recently. 7 years. It took a hell of a lot of work by myself and some other residents to actually try and actually get something done. So I find it really worrying that we haven't got anything in place that can trigger it off.
Hopefully I'll be able to answer that for you then. Odour assessment, condition 47, has been worded. So odour assessment has already been carried out by Anglian Water themselves, actually. That was submitted as part of this application. We've had a lot of ongoing discussions with environmental health around the concerns with odour, because, you know, they had some issues with that. Hence, you know, why the layout is what it is now, and there's a 280 metre cordon sanitaire that's been proposed. So the condition at number 47 has been worded to say that an updated odour assessment is to be provided prior to or concurrently with the submission of the first application reserved matters approval. So we will expect an updated odour assessment to be provided at that stage when the reserved matters come in. So hopefully that should satisfy your concern there. So like I say, when we receive that reserved matters, I will be expecting an updated odour assessment to be with that as well.
And that just goes. Sorry, that just goes for officers. It doesn't touch this committee at all from the reserved matters.
No, so it will come to officers for us to assess. Reserved matters will come back to planning committee. Yes.
Alex.
Thank you, Chair. Bit echoey there, sorry. Thank you, Chair. In terms of the proposed new works on Southend Road and the Network Rail issue with the zebra crossing. Now, I've lived in Wickford all my life, and there's nothing in the report to say what the current systems are for that level crossing, because it is down a steep set of stairs, too many S's. But at the bottom of each is a traffic light system, of which red, don't walk, green, do cross. Now, that line is particularly quiet. It only goes to the sort of Southminster line, and trains probably do only about 35 to 40 miles an hour down. This is coming from someone I know who works for Greater Anglia Rail. Now, a load of current school-aged children use this crossing to access Hilltop and Beauchamps, And as part of this application, they're saying obviously unhappy with the extra 250 houses that are going to be going in. So instead, the existing children will have to walk down a very, very busy road at peak rush hour and also at school pickup times at 3 o'clock along there, down a road with one crossing where they're having to cross the road from north to south of Southend Road and walk south along Southend Road, along with the other children that exist in there from Shopgate, and then to cross north at an existing crossing, where I can't see even widening the road to 3 metres, where most of it already is 3 metres, to be honest, along Southend Road and at the top where most of it's just a bit on the narrow bit where the railway bridge is. I think as I raised that, going underneath, you wouldn't be able to cut any of that back, and that is quite a large section of that road all the way up the hill to the crossing to the first cul-de-sac on the left. I can't see how that makes it safer from a highways point of view for all those children to walk that way, where a lot of children from Shopgate do go down Alicia Avenue and cross the crossing already over the railway, and yet there's been no incidents that's been reported, not I can see. I just wondered if there was any comment on that, where they're coming from in terms of how that will improve safety for existing and future residents.
So we've had a lot of discussion with Network Rail actually around this. So, I mean, you are right, it's a single track that runs from Wickford to Southminster. And Network Rail have recently upgraded the crossing because it is identified as the 30th highest risk crossing in the region. Currently, they have recorded about 300 crossings a day, mainly by school children and obviously pedestrians walking in and around the area, but predominantly school children. And Network Rail were looking to close the crossing because, say, it's the 30th highest risk crossing. So it is deemed dangerous. Highways have also been involved in those discussions and deemed that it would be safer for children to walk along Southend Road. Okay, I know it is quite a busy road and upgrades to that road are proposed as part of this application to mitigate the crossing that's going to be closing, but that crossing is deemed as dangerous and, as I say, high risk. And Network Rail and the Essex Council felt that this was an alternative, safer route for school children to use to get to school.
Thank you for that, Katie, clarification. I've got a couple of other points about different things. One of them is obviously the Anglian Water issue. I think we've covered quite extensively, and and I think the 280-metre buffer zone is welcomed here. In terms of obviously, because I think we've seen, as I said, in terms of they can't be occupied with a new condition until, because originally it was 50 houses as a Grampian condition. Now can't be occupied until Anglian Water have said there is sufficient capacity. Now, with the community reflective housing being built in the area and perhaps what is coming in from neighbouring districts, that may never happen. So there are incidents across the country where planning permission has been given and developers have built out the houses, but yet no windows and doors have been installed, and it's all become very run over. A load of weeds and things are growing through the houses. Basically, it all needs to be knocked down again and rebuilt because they aren't able to connect to the foul water sewerage, and they can't sue anyone because obviously no one's got any money to do anything about it in the first place. So I just wonder, especially with the Network Rail one, and Network Rail get the option to close that crossing and the other mitigation measures done in place. So they've got a Grampian condition saying 50 can be occupied. I just wondered, in terms of the conditions themselves as they're written from the two statutory consultees, whether they align and whether they should be changed so that no property is until something has happened. Because, they could put an on-site sewage treatment plant. We see it with other sites where they've done that, but they're not proposing that here. They're proposing a solution to go directly with the current foul water sewage, which Anglian Water have said they do not have room for. So I just wonder, in terms of the conditions that are proposed, whether or not they actually align and whether there's perhaps some strengthening that could be done in that respect.
Yeah, so Anglian Water are proactively working on a short and long-term solution. So there are works that have been undertaken by Anglian Water. But with regards to this development and the conditions that have been recommended, so condition 6, which you are right in saying that none of the dwellings hereby permitted shall be occupied until details of a disposal of sewage have been submitted to and approved in writing by the LPA. So that's quite a flexible condition. So that does allow either on-site or off-site solutions to come forward as part of sort of discharging that conditions. So I guess, you know, if so many years down the line England Water haven't resolved their issues, then the developer could put a solution forward for an on-site, similar to previous developments that you've considered recently here at committee. So that is an option that could happen, and that's been written in a flexible way for allow that to happen.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the bus enhancement improvements, obviously there are some, says there's going to be some works to the bus stops, castle curbs, etc., which always comes forward. It mentions very vaguely that bus service enhancements from Wickford Town Centre along the Southend Road corridor. Could you please explain what exactly that means?
So Highways required a 650,000 financial contribution to enhance and upgrade those buses along that corridor, so from the town centre along Southend Road. So it just enhanced the improvements and the frequency of buses along that road. So that's what the money will contribute towards with developments coming forward.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any more clarifications? No? Right, we'll go straight on to calling the people that wanted to speak tonight. Can I call Joshua Miller, please? Would you like to come through and press the red button? Thank you.
Good evening, councillors. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of Martin Grant Homes, who are the applicants for this scheme. The application before you was submitted in August 2023, which followed a long period of engagement with the council and other stakeholders, which has continued until this day. Prior to that time, the site had been identified as a housing allocation in the withdrawn Basildon Local Plan 2014 to 2034, with the supporting evidence base identifying it as a suitable site for Greenbelt release. More recently, the site has similarly been identified as a potential housing allocation in the emerging local plan. Again, the evidence base makes clear it remains a suitable opportunity for meeting housing needs in a sustainable location. Over the past several years, we have worked proactively with the council, preferring to work with officers in an open, patient and considered manner. Alongside officers, we have engaged with other key stakeholders to ensure this is a proposal which delivers meaningful benefit whilst avoiding harms. This has included extensive engagement with Network Rail, Essex Place Services, who consider the pedestrian rail crossing to be dangerous and require its closure and the diversion of the public right-of-way. The outcome of the work completed and collaborative approach employed is a scheme which is well designed, guided by principles established by the council for its plan-making exercises. It provides the opportunity for the council to support much-needed housing and, critically, more affordable housing in a suitable location. The proposals before you today secure up to 250 homes, of which 50% will be affordable, including homes for affordable rent, social rent and shared ownership. Homes will be located within an existing strong landscape framework, which will be strengthened for additional boundary planting, alongside a significant provision of new green open space covering almost 2/3 of the site. The work completed to support the application alongside the responses received from technical officers and consultees demonstrates there are few harms which will arise from the proposals. We share the view of officers that these few harms are heavily outweighed by the benefits. Further, the site is grey belt land. As summarised by you officers, the proposal meet national planning policy and guidance relating to grey belt, being a sustainable site and location which does not strongly meet the purposes of what the green belt is formed for. Further, the proposals achieve the golden rules, including 50% affordable housing and public open space provision. We therefore support the officer's conclusion that the adverse impacts of granting permission in this particular instance do not significantly and demonstrably outweigh the benefits. We respectfully request that councillors approve the scheme in line with the officer's recommendations set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua Miller. Can I now call, is it Charlotte Gurchin? Like to come forward? Thank you.
Good evening and thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak. My name is Charlotte and I'm here as a local resident who walks the land at Bakers Close every day. This isn't just space on a map, it's part of our daily lives, our well-being and our community. I want to speak calmly, respectfully and truthfully. This is not a standard planning application. It is not simply about building houses. It's about the destruction of something irreplaceable. For nature, for history and for the future of Wickford. This is a vital ecological corridor. Bakers Close, Giddings Copse and Shotgate Thickets form one continuous wildlife corridor. This land is the natural extension of Shotgate Thicket Nature Reserve, allowing species to feed, nest, travel and survive. If this land is built on, the corridor is broken, and when the wildlife corridor is severed, ecosystems collapse. There is nowhere else like this left in Wickford, and there are legally protected wildlife here. This land is home to confirmed protected species, greater crested newts, bats, badgers and hedgehogs. These species cannot simply relocate. When their habitat is destroyed, they die, and a habitat like this cannot be created once it's gone. This land has been untouched for over 40 plus years, and nature has reclaimed it. It is not flat farmland, it's alive, it's dense shrubs, self-seeded trees and layered growth, having created a thriving, rewilded ecosystem. Now transitioning into woodland. Owls, buzzards and seasonal birds nest and hunt here. Policies urge councils to protect land that has naturally rewilded, not clear it. There is Roman and prehistoric heritage here. The developer's own heritage assessment confirms Roman settlements recorded within the site, 2 Roman roads protected to cross the land, Roman artefacts found within the site, and a possible Roman or prehistoric cremational burial at the boundary. Under the MPPF, land with potential national significance must be properly, independently investigated and preserved. Noisy Woods was protected with similar reasons with their Roman burial. Bakers Close deserves the same. Then there's the flood risk. This land acts as a natural floodplain linked to the River Crouch water table. The greater crested newts are evidence that this is marsh-like land. It is covered with houses. If it's covered with houses that will flow into the road, drains and homes. Flooding won't just increase; it will be inevitable. This land holds life, history and ecological purpose. It's not just spare land, it's valuable land and it deserves protection. With housing developments already proposed across Wickford, including 2 more in Shotgate alone, please spare this one. Once it's gone forever, and please choose protection. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Charlotte. Councillor Trevor Hammond. I don't think he's here, no? Okay. Councillor David Aldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have several reservations and stuff about this. One that's was brought up to just now with the footpath underneath the railway bridge. If you're going to have an increase, there's always a lot of children walking along that road on the way to and from school in the morning and evenings. If we're adding extras of people into it and making it a cycles away as well, then sort of that, while it's okay on the side, either end of it, once you get underneath the railway bridge, there is no option. You've only got a very limited, narrow footpath. It's not even wide enough for 2 pushchairs or wheelchairs to pass each other on that section. So if people are, if you then add up bicycles and other things and stuff as well, there's a high likelihood that somebody is going to end up in the middle of the road. The only other option I can think of is to put a barrier up there, stopping people from getting onto the road along the curb edge or something like that. But so that is only going to narrow it down, and you can make it even tighter for people to get through. I think the option to sort of reroute from the railway path into sort of Alicia and onto sort of Beauchamps Drive is ridiculous. We can't have all the kids, because you've got infant schools and junior schools as well as the senior schools. You're going to have 5 to 6 year olds walking along there, as well as 14, 15, 16, even maybe 18 year olds if you're looking at ones doing A levels. Somebody's going to get bumped accidentally, but somebody's going to get bumped and end up in the road. I can't see that that's a viable option. I'm sorry. Additionally, Sue, there's other sort of things with Charlotte sort of mentioned about the ecology and sort of and the water table and sort of stuff. We all know that we're getting a lot more sort of flash floods coming from sort of rapids to storms coming through, and large downpours of water coming through the system and whatever. I can see that that's going to clog the drains up and flood the areas, and it's going to affect a lot of the wildlife that remains after the properties have been built. I can't see it's working. I'm sorry, and therefore I object to the site going ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Eunice Brockman. It does say remote here, but it's nice to see you here, Eunice.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I wasn't going to dial in remotely, but I felt well enough to come along tonight, so thank you. Excuse the voice, though, it's a bit hoarse. Right, so anyone familiar with the area will know that it is a rich and biodiverse environment. It's home to a wide range of wildlife, including foxes, deer, bats, mice, and even protected species such as the great crested newt. To develop this land would not only destroy valuable habitats, but would also change the very character of the village. Shopgate has always had a distinct, close-knit rural feel, and this proposal risks erasing that. Equally concerning is the issue of access and infrastructure. The surrounding roads are already struggling to cope with the current traffic levels. The South End Road in particular becomes heavily decongested at peak times, with vehicles from Rayleigh, Rochford and Battlesbridge using it as a cut-through from the A130 to the A127, as well as the commuters parking in Wickford for travelling to London. Adding 250 more homes, and with them the potential of hundreds more cars, will only make matters worse. During school runs and rush hour, Wickford can already become gridlocked, and in the event of an accident, the town can be completely blocked for hours. Beyond traffic, there's the question of essential services. Local GP surgeries are already overstretched, dentists are full, and the schools and nurseries are struggling to find places for the children who already live here. So where will the new families go for healthcare and education? I know many of my fellow residents will speak to other issues or have spoken to other issues, environmental, social and practical, but I want to end it by appealing to your sense of duty as councillors. As representatives of our communities, our foremost responsibility is to protect the interests and well-being of our residents. I therefore urge you all to give this application the serious consideration it deserves, and to recognise that this development is inappropriate and unsustainable for this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. Now we've had our speakers, I'm going to open it up to the committee again. Have I anybody who wishes to speak on this? Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to ask Katie for her response to the concerns that have been raised by Charlotte, and I think also by Councillor Brockman on the wildlife impact of this development. Thank you.
So as part of the application, the ecology impact assessment has been submitted. As I said in my presentation as well, identified on the site there are, look back at my notes, sorry. So there are significant ecology features, including reptiles of county importance, breeding and wintering birds, and foraging of bats. So they have all been identified in the ecological impact assessment, but there were mitigation measures that have been recommended, which such as reptile mitigation strategy, sort of nature areas and diverse habitats, wildlife. These have all been secured by conditions. So there is a condition 17. There is a mitigation and biodiversity enhancement conditions. There's also a condition that refers to examining trees for bats. There's also an ecology appraisal condition, condition 7, and there are badgers also on site that have been identified, and there are 2 badger conditions at condition 8 and 54 that have been imposed on the committee. Also, given the length of time this application has been with us, I have also recommended a condition, which I've not got in front of me actually, and the number of it, but an updated ecology survey to be carried out. So that's also been a recommendation of a condition that's been recommended on in the committee report. So hopefully that should satisfy anyone's concerns.
Thank you very much, Chair. Charlotte made a very, very good point earlier in regards to the ecology and obviously the actual species that we find on this particular area. Once they're gone, or once the area's gone, they've made a very good point that basically they'll die off. And quite frankly, it's another area of Greenbelt that's being used again to effectively create a concrete jungle in our borough. You've also got to take into consideration as well the World War II defensive structures. Now, as positive as we can be about these being repaired and moved and altered and whatnot, there is still the very potential possibility that we will find ourselves with these pillboxes gone forever, because, as you said, they've been vandalised previously. Who's to say that removing them or trying to fix them is going to damage them further, and we could lose them from our local history? So, on the basis of what has been said today, especially from our speakers from the public, there's no way that I can support this application, because, quite frankly, again, we're building on Greenbelt. Once it's gone, it's gone. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's enough mitigation for the World War II defensive structures to give me the confidence to give it my vote today. So it will be a no from me, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Have I any other speakers, Alex?
Thank you, Chair. One of the reasons why I'm keen to support this application is actually because of the World War II pillboxes and the Roman road, which, let's face it, in the current scrubland that they're in, where nobody's looking after them, people are vandalising them, tree roots can damage them, all sorts of things. But in the sort of the open environment that they'll have after this application's been developed, after the development's been built, they will be much better off, and they will therefore be open to the public to see. They can't currently see them because they're in the middle of scrubland that's not on public land. So people will be able to see them and enjoy them and learn from them, which is so much better than the current state that they're in. So that's one of my reasons for supporting it. The other reasons are the 52% of publicly available open land, the fact that we need houses, as we say, it's now a 2.2 year housing land supply, which is still much, much lower than what it needs to be. Currently scrubland that's just sitting there, as the member of the public said, for 40 years, nothing being done on it. Let's get something done on it. And so yeah, I'll be supporting this application for those reasons.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, obviously, in the light of the fact that we've had local councillors and also, obviously, a member of the public talk tonight, I would like to summarise my view on this as well, if I may. So, what strikes me here is I think this location, certainly in the context of some of the developments that have gone through here, is amongst the more favourable ones that, in terms of things that would add 250 homes to our housing supply. It's got access on a main road with links west and east. It's close to local shops and local schools. The impact of the openness of the Greenbelt on local residents for a development of this scale is relatively limited, with only about, I'm going to say, about a quarter of the site perimeter bordered by existing residential. There's a minimal, if any, extension of the eastern perimeter of Wickford towards Rayleigh. And as I understand it from the planning officer, there are no objections subject to conditions from any of the local regulatory bodies to the development. So for those reasons, I will also be supporting the development tonight. Thank you for your time. I would appreciate not being interrupted while I'm talking. Thank you.
Sam, please don't, while someone's talking, please. Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, just a couple of things. It's interesting to see how near this Greenbelt development is near to shops. Remember the home-based one that we refused because it's kind of a fast food place there. And it was wrong for the children to go near to a place that's got food, if I remember rightly, which I thought was a ridiculous decision. And just because I've had this conversation so many times with Councillor Harrison now, just because it's scrubland doesn't mean to say it's not valuable as well. With what you've got there as well. We've had this discussion so many times now where members on this committee have said, well, it's already been a dumping ground. If we make it, if we tidy it up and put some housing on it, it'll make it look better. What you're saying to people, again, you're saying to people, if you destroy a place and make it look really untidy and it's green belt, make it don't look like much at all, and then put planning application, you're likely to get it because you know what, it looked better than what it was with the housing on. That's not the attitude. It's not the way it should be assessed. This is green belt land. It's priceless, and I don't. We can argue before anyone says it's not green belt land. It's now grey belt land. It's bloody green belt land as far as I'm concerned, and as far as everybody else behind me and are concerned. So I shan't be supporting this on that condition. Just because it's scrubland does not mean to say that it's okay to build on.
Anybody else? Alex.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a lot of issues here. I think where I raised in the beginning with sort of the distance in terms of walking, because we had sustainability as a particular reason why I also was not particularly supportive of the application over by Dunton, Dunton Fords area. I know that was a lot further to walk, but this one seems to be taking away a reasonable walk route from someone and making it perhaps even, I in my particular opinion, even unsafer. I know Councillor Aldridge went into it as well as I did about that railway underpass, and he's quite correct. You wouldn't be able to narrow those roads underneath in order to create another footpath area. It wouldn't be able to have emergency services go through. There is no large. It's only a single line down the middle. There is no convected lines. I can't see how that would ever happen. And therefore, the fact that the mitigation itself, in my view, as stated, cannot be carried out, should be a reason for refusal in the first place. If Network Rail have, said this is the mitigation, the highway said this, but if it has to be a 3 metre wide corridor, there is no way that could be a 3 metre wide footway and cycleway underneath the large 40-50 metre area of the railway bridge down and up the hill. Is just impossible. In terms of the ecology, I mean, yes, I don't live around this particular area. I was there when I was younger, so obviously a lot changes in sort of 30 years. But when we had the one at Castleton Road, and I did look through his report and it wasn't there, I don't know who was the officer, and I don't know if it was yourself, Katie, or someone else, the Castleton Road behind Livermore's. We had a massive report in the agenda about ecology, listing all of the species that were there, the issues, the birds, the reptiles that were there. We had mitigation strategies where they were going to pay money to move the newts to the Wick Country Park. I don't know if that's happened yet. I do know they're cutting trees over there at the moment, so maybe I'll bring up an enforcement thing later on tomorrow. But there does seem to be a little bit in this report about not particularly saying the species that have been found or what the assessments have done. I do understand it's outline and not but however, the other application was outlined. It wasn't full. It's up to 99 houses in that area. Kevin quite rightly says, this isn't just scrubland. It doesn't mean it's not valuable greenbelt land. You look at the area around it, and I've got the map here. You've got some sporadic development to the east with the football club, and obviously with Shot Farm and the Angling Water, but it is miles and miles and miles and miles of fields from Shopgate, separated in from the communities of village and parishes of Rawreth and further along to Rayleigh. It has a purpose. It should remain as that purpose, and for those reasons, I will not be supporting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Sam.
Thank you very much. I think it's very telling when Councillor Harrison decides to come to the planning committee and very much on what Councillor Blake said about it's just scrubland. No, it's greenbelt land. That's what it is. And it seems that every time we come to one of these planning committees, as soon as there's 250 homes, 450 homes, 1,000 homes, it just gets rubber stamped all the way through. I can almost guarantee you and tell you exactly what is going to happen at every planning committee, because the Labour councillors on this particular committee are whipped into making decisions.
Chair, that's
no.
disgraceful.
They are whipped. Okay.
No, they're not. Okay?
Well,
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you very much. And quite frankly, once this
Sorry
group...
to interrupt you, but would you mind asking Councillor Journey to withdraw that statement? That's, A, is completely inappropriate, and B, is clearly a political statement, and you made it clear at the start of the meeting that overtly political statements are not to be tolerated. Sorry to interrupt, but I think that's an important point.
I will not withdraw. Thank you. And to continue, as I was saying...
I'm sorry, Chair, can we get some legal advice on whether or not Councillor Genet should withdraw that statement?
It's important.
Hello. Claire Wilson, Legal Services. Don't know if we met before. If you could withdraw the statement, it is a political one of nature and could be considered vexatious.
I will withdraw the statement on the basis that it is a political statement in a planning meeting. Whether I agree with it or not, and whether I still believe it, is for a different conversation. But on the basis of the planning committee, I will withdraw it on this basis only. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Councillor Mike Baker.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to add, obviously, partly for the benefit of the members of the public who are attending, that my view as a member of the planning committee is that I'm obliged to assess these developments on the national planning policy framework guidance and also on the planning balance. And that really is the main driver for my decision this evening. And obviously in the point of Greenbelt, you know, we are so far beyond the point now where we can say something is Greenbelt, therefore we can't do it. I mean, you know, under the previous Conservative government, it was still possible.
Political statement, an apology, please.
Yeah, oh, sorry, under the previous government. Sorry,
No. He made a political statement.
Okay, I would
please apologise.
Sorry, Chair, I didn't mean it as a political
Yes,
statement. I withdraw the Conservative element.
You apologise because we're
Yeah,
saying
no,
thank you.
that's absolutely fair enough. Yes, I've just withdrawn it, Councillor Johnny. Thank you. My point was, it's been for a long time, certainly preceding the current government. It's been possible to build on Greenbelt if very special circumstances have applied. So just my point is, we are not at liberty, as I understand it from the National Planning Policy Framework, to simply say, sorry, this is Greenbelt, therefore we can't proceed with the development. But I do withdraw the comments about the Conservative government. Apologies about that to the fellow members of the committee. It wasn't intended to be political.
Thank you, Mike. If there's nobody else who'd like to speak on this, we do have 3 golden rules which we have to take into consideration. And when this meets the 3 golden rules, we know that if it goes to appeal, it'll be passed anyway. So we have to be very careful about that. What I'm saying, I'm looking at the pillboxes, and I do like to see that. It's part of our heritage, as we've already all said. So I'm sure that they'll be looked after if they're around. It's 250 is very small to what we've had. So I haven't got a problem. The only problem I might have is the level crossing, with the 300 a day in the crossings, and it's going to be rerouted. And what I'd like as a condition is that we do not start the application until it has actually been rerouted, because we don't want any accidents. We've heard about narrow roads and different other things. Other than that, I haven't got a problem, because we've looked at the 3 golden rules. I haven't got a problem with that. Kevin.
Yeah, part of the 3 golden rules is to do with heritage. Am I correct? Can somebody confirm that?
So the golden rules apply to the 50% affordable housing, infrastructure improvements, and sustainability. So traffic. That's what the golden rules apply to under paragraph 156 of the NPPF. When you talk about heritage, you're thinking about very special circumstances and the public benefit outweighing the harm. So they're separate. So golden rules say apply to the affordable housing, infrastructure, and sustainability of the site. Whereas very special circumstances, we'll look at in this case heritage assets, although they are non-designated heritage assets, not designated heritage assets, where the very special circumstances would outweigh the harm. But, you know, as I said previously, these pillboxes are being retained. There are conditions that are looking to repair them and will be incorporated into the landscape. And quite often, pillboxes are used for ecology purposes, for bats and things like that. So that's what they're more likely to be reused for. But there are conditions on there retaining their purposes and repairing them, and there will be information boards that will be put up around the site, not just for the pillboxes, but also for the Aintertank ditch and the Roman roads, just so people can appreciate the heritage of the site, basically. So I hope that answers your question, Councillor Blake.
Can I come back? Yeah. We was doing so well, Mo. We was doing so well to that comment. If it hits the 3 golden rules, forget that we could also take in consideration the heritage and whatnot. But it's only 250 houses, not compared to what we've had. It's 250 houses, which could be in the region of 400 cars and an awful lot of children going through. The concern that you have, so alone your concern that you had, you've got a concern about this application. You've clearly said that in open public now. And God forbid something happens now, like that underpass, where somebody gets hurt, gets seriously hurt, and you put your hand up to support something that you had doubts about in the first place. We're not here to rubber stamp anything. We are here to have an opinion. Listen to officers and their expertise, absolutely. But if the heritage is an issue which can be classed as going against that recommendation of officers, then it's a justified reason. You've just sat here and said that you have concerns about that particular part, which is a major concern of these residents and the councillors that have already spoken.
Councillor Blake, can you tell me what particular concern? All I said was I had about the level crossing, and I would like a condition on it to say that no building goes on there till it's rerouted.
You hadn't mentioned
that's the condition I said. And I don't get whipped. I'm an independent, so I don't get whipped. Okay? No, this is what I'm saying.
Don't start talking to me like that, Mark. I never said you did get whipped.
No, but you've made a statement that's not right.
I'm not making a statement. You go back what you said.
No, I have said I would like a condition on it to do with the crossing, the level crossing.
Before I spoke. Go back and have a listen. And ask anyone here whether you made that at the beginning. You've done it, Mo. I'm sorry. You did not say that before I came in. You know, I'm not saying that now, but you have a serious concern about that, and I accept that, and I agree with you. I've got no problems on that.
Well, I've asked for a condition to be put on it.
But you hadn't. Not when I started speaking, you had not. Not at all, Mo.
Well, that's your opinion. You've got your opinion.
It's not opinion,
I've got
Mo.
mine.
It's a fact. We listen
No.
Just listen back. Just listen back, Mo.
Thank you. I will go straight into the recommendation.
What about this condition you're going to put on?
I've asked.
You just
for
asked. You
that
just asked for a condition on. Now you're not even mentioning it.
Guys, right, okay, so referring back to the committee report, so we have a gramping condition that talks about the closure of the level crossing and then talks about the occupation of no more than 50 dwellings. With regards to the off-site mitigation improvement works, there is condition 33 that's been recommended by Highway Authority, and that talks about prior to first occupation, South End Road improvement work shall be completed, being a provision of, and it states what works are proposed. So there is a condition on there to that extent, so I'm hoping that satisfies members of the committee.
Thank you. Going straight into the recommendation that planning application number 230108 out be granted outline planning permission subject to no calling powers being exercised by the Secretary of State and the completion of a 106 agreement as set out in section 6.0 and subject to the conditions set out at the end of the report, with any amendments that might be necessary up to the issue of the decision notice. All those in favour, please show. Any abstentions? All those that refuse? Thank you. It's carried, and we'll have a 10-minute break now. Thank you. Right, we're all back together now. We'll go on to item 5, which is planning application number 24013734, proposed demolition of existing buildings and erection of a 4-storey block containing 20 flats with associated car parking, hard and soft landscaping at former Long Riding's public house, 301 Long Riding, Basildon. Can I pass that over to you, Dave, please?
Okay, thank you, Chairman. As it relates to the former Long Riding public house in Basildon, proposal is to demolish the building and erect a 4-storey building containing 20 flats with associated car parking and landscaping. So just, I can't get rid of this. Something's showing up on my screen. It shouldn't be. Won't go away. Oh, I'll have to look at that. What's happened there? That's the reference here. That's it. That's better. Yes. Oh, keep getting the thing in the middle. I'll have to have a look at it. Yeah, the application site is located at the junction of Long Riding and Claiborne Circle. It's currently occupied by like a single-storey former pub with a staff accommodation on the western side with 2 floors and a large open car parking area on the east side. The aerial photograph, is it going to work? It's not working again. No. That's it. Yeah, it just shows the area. It's predominantly residential. Long Riding itself is mainly 3-storey properties, a mix of houses and flats on the corners mainly. The only commercial units are adjoining the site to the west, a couple of small retail shops, but as you can see, it's predominantly a residential area. The site itself is slightly kind of not in the best of conditions. It's of its time, late 50s, early 60s design, with a very kind of underused site in an area where they're predominantly, 3-storey properties. So the building itself, you say on the left-hand side there, you can see the two floors of staff accommodation above the unit itself. Just some photos of the surrounding area. So on the corners, there's normally these flats that have got a kind of a staircase in the corners, and the flats themselves have got these recessed areas. I'll go on to that later in the kind of issues that neighbours have raised. So the proposal is to demolish the building, replace it with roughly a rectangular block with a central core area that leads onto Long Riding, and within that you have the access to the units themselves and a lift to the upper floors. From the Claiborne Circle there'll be a new access to a basement car parking area, and say the units themselves will each have the ground floor garden areas, communal garden area to the south of the building. The upper floors, also this is a more detailed one, just so the internal, sorry, you've got the refuse elements, cycle storage, and the ramp down to the lower area. Upper floors are a similar design with central core, and there'd be a mix of 1, 2 and 3 bed units. The top floor itself, there would be set in from the edges of the building, and there'll be like a terraced area for the units at those levels. The first and second floor units will have balcony areas for each of the properties. It's a basement level car parking providing 17 spaces, and on the roof there will be a series of solar panels to try and improve the sustainability of the building itself. Elevation itself is quite a contemporary sort of design, kind of grey-cladded elements to the main body of the building, zinc cladding to the upper level to try and kind of reduce its overall bulk, and then the kind of balcony areas have this gold finish cladding. They've done kind of CGI to kind of show the what they hope will be the finished product. So it gives a kind of overall scale. So in terms of the various issues that looked at, say the principle itself, it should be noted in the report there was a previous application that came to committee in December 2020, and the committee resolved to grant the near enough identical proposal to this, but subject to completion of a Section 106 agreement. However, that was not completed, and therefore no formal consent was granted at the time. So the site itself is in a residential area. There's no policies preventing its development or the loss of the facility that's there, and therefore, in principle, it's felt to be acceptable, subject to the various design issues. In terms of the layout and design, as you see, it's quite we feel as it will be a significant improvement visually on the site, and will not be significantly out of keeping with those buildings surrounding the area in terms of the scale, the bulk, and still will improve the landscaping aspects of the scheme as well, with new planting surrounding the site. In terms of the neighbour impacts, the building has been designed to ensure it has minimal impact. The side balconies are to have screens to prevent any direct overlooking into neighbouring properties. That's been raised by a neighbour. Also, in terms of daylight and sunlight issues that have been raised, the report was submitted with the application. It shows that while there'll be a minor reduction on a couple of the flats, this is partly due to the recessed nature of their kind of living room areas. They're set back into the property, so the actual design of the buildings actually makes it worse, and the impact of the building itself is minimal in its impact on those particular properties. The building, the flats themselves will meet the National Described Space Standards. They'll all have their own amenity space, and it's felt that the buildings, the design itself is of an appropriate scale for the area. In terms of highway aspects, neighbours have raised the issue of the lack of parking, but 19 spaces provided. That's slightly below the new car parking standards, which in this case, given its very sustainable location, very good bus routes, is only one space per unit. And as part of this application, the applicants submitted a parking survey which showed that there was quite a significant number of parking spaces available during the night, so particularly as long riding doesn't have any restrictions between, I think it's 6 and 6 in the evenings and overnight, so anybody coming during those nights can easily access those spaces. In terms of other aspects, as I say, the applicants have been in consultation with the Essex Police to ensure design and out crime considerations will be considered as part of the final fit out, particularly with the underground car parking, to make sure there's gates and the CCT and what have you. In terms of affordable housing provision, the applicants have put forward a financial viability assessment to show that there isn't any, it would be unviable to provide any on the site, and in either a contribution, and regrettably we can't ask for them on that aspect. However, they have agreed to a number of contributions towards healthcare, sustainable transport, open space improvements, local skills aspects, local delivery pilot, and the RAMS aspect. But there will also be an obligation to review early or late stages of the scheme to see whether the scheme has become more viable, and at that time we can look at possibly a contribution if that is the case, and there will be a monitoring maintenance plan towards biodiversity net gain. In terms of positives or negative aspects of the scheme, so it will provide a modern contemporary development feel enhances the locality, will provide much needed market housing. The negative aspects are the reduction in parking aspect and the impact on neighbours in terms of daylight. But overall, it's felt the scheme would make good use of a relatively underused site, and the field doesn't have any significant detrimental impacts on either neighbours or the overall locality, and it's been recommended to the committee subject to the various conditions set out on pages 160 to 70, quite a number of them, 172. Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, sorry. Any points? Anybody? Kevin?
Just a general one, really. We keep on saying in all these planning applications regarding money for health. And, we see it every one, and it's great. How does that ever get distributed? How do we, in all these applications, where does that money go to? Because every time they come up, it's a bit confusing. Because some of it's a huge amount of money, isn't it? And I'm always concerned because unless, as I said before, unless we're actually building more doctor surgeries, having more doctors, I don't see what we can do. But yeah, you found it and you've got it.
Mid and South Essex, I think, in integrated care service, they have a assessment of the facilities in that area, as I mentioned in the report, and they will look at the number of patients in that area, and if the contribution will go towards improvements, maybe an extra extension to that property when it gets to that level, so it's relatively speaking, it's only 9,700 here, so that's not going to be an extension in that sense, but all the various funds put together within that area. You've had the what's the one in just around the corner from here, Broadmain, there was a one there. So all the various contributions are collated, and then a scheme will be put forward by the health service, and they will make a case for an extension in that area. So it can only be spent in those particular localities. So that's the kind of how it's worked out in these ones. So.
Thank you. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so sometimes that could be a case. This isn't just been an observation. It could be a year, it could be 2 years before there's an accumulation of money from other areas to actually make that improvement. Right. Okay. No, that's fine. That's quite nice to know. Thank you.
Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so just to confirm, can you just I think I understood this correctly, but can you just confirm that as far as you're concerned, this development is in proportion with the rest of Long Riding, even though it appears that it's the only four-story building in the road, which, as I believe you stated, is predominantly three-story.
Yeah, that's correct to say. On Long Riding itself, it's three-story. Around the surrounding is two-story. But the way that it's been designed, the fourth story is set back. Yes, it will be taller, but the kind of taller. It doesn't really say. If you can see in the bottom right hand, left hand there, you can see the slight. Oh, sorry, sorry. Where is it gone? Yeah, the bottom left hand there, you can see the existing buildings on the left hand side there, and the proposal would be slightly higher, but it's not. We feel significantly higher, and they're kind of recessing. So when you're at the ground level, you wouldn't necessarily see. Feel it's a fourth story. If you can gather that. So, yeah.
Sam.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just in regards to the current Christian church, which is currently using the space at the moment, what are the plans to relocate them, or has the council made any plans to move them elsewhere, or are we just taking away their home?
We'll say it's not a council property, and so it would be for the church themselves, or to look for a new premises within the borough if that's where they're based.
So to confirm, this church is going. If this is passed tonight, this church and the churchgoers will lose their place of worship.
Yeah, yes. It's to say they don't own the property, so therefore they would have to take that with the owners themselves. Yeah.
Perfect. And just in regards to the actual design of the building as well, I mean, it looks nothing like the adjacent buildings. How was this in line with the design codes and of the area? Has this been taken into consideration? Because that looks nothing like the area that it's currently sat next to. I've seen what the design of those homes look like, and they do not look nothing like that.
No, I say it's not replica of those. Things change over time. We have to look at the scale and the mass of the buildings and whether it's so poor that we would refuse it. In this case, we feel it's of a higher quality than what's on the site at the present time. The single-storey nature of it. Yes, it won't replicate the adjoining ones, and you probably wouldn't want to do that nowadays for whatever reason. But we feel it will be a change, but it's not. We feel would be an improvement on those.
Anybody else? No? Right, we go into the speakers. We do have a remote speaker, which is Sophie Hardy. Is she there? No. Sophie Hardy?
Hello.
Hello. I don't think we can see you. Ah, at the bottom. Would you like to go ahead? Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Good evening, councillors, and thank you for your time today. My name is Sophie Hardy from Hybrid. Have you got me?
Yes, you're coming across. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. So my name is Sophie Hardy from Hybrid Planning and Development, the planning consultant for this application. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant. Sorry, that was my YouTube in the background. Let me start that again. I'm speaking on from Hybrid Planning and Development, the planning consultant for this application. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant in support of the proposed redevelopment of Long Riding, Basildon. As stated by the case officer, the planning application is a resubmission of a previous planning application which was approved at committee on the 15th of December 2020. However, this application was withdrawn as the legal agreement was not signed. Since the original planning application, there have been no substantial shifts in planning policy on a local or national level. Whilst the National Planning Policy Framework has been updated, we do not consider that this would affect the original decision of the planning application. More recently, biodiversity net gain has been introduced, and the resubmission includes a biodiversity net gain statement to demonstrate compliance with this legislation. The proposed development would result in the creation of 20 high-quality new homes which will contribute to Basildon's housing supply. Moreover, given that this is a small site, it can be built out and delivered relatively quickly. The proposals include the demolition of all existing buildings and the erection of a 4-storey building with basement parking. This would deliver 7 one-bedroom homes, 9 two-bedroom homes, and 4 three-bedroom homes. All of the homes would have a balcony or a terrace, providing private amenity space. Communal amenity space is also proposed to the rear of the development. A total of 17 car parking spaces are proposed, which is considered appropriate given the sustainability of the site, and this has also been supported by the Highways Authority. It is our view that the proposed development would result in high quality new homes which would contribute to the existing community. The planning permission would be subject to a Section 106 agreement, which includes a number of financial contributions towards healthcare improvements, sustainable transport and open space, to name a few. We have worked with the planning officer to ensure that the planning issues have been overcome and addressed, and any impacts of the development can be mitigated where necessary and by financial contributions. We are in full support of this planning application and respectfully request that the committee grant planning permission. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sophie. Can I now call Marta Seidel, is it, please? Would you like to come forward? Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members. Just to specify, the block of flats on Long Riding, they have 6 flats, not 20. We have to be clear about this, about the size of this building which you plan to put there with the neighborhood. I live in the block of flats positioned to the side of the proposed development, and I want to raise 3 serious concerns. First, daylight and sunlight. The applicant's own study admits that several windows failed the building research establishment daylight and sunlight test. The applicant's report relies on assumptions that do not reflect real conditions, removing the existing balcony overhangs from the computer model to make the scheme appear compliant with BRE daylight guidance. The study also omits shadow plots and confirmed that lounge windows will receive under 2 hours sunlight in March when the new development is completed, what is considered as a light loss. Second, overlooking and distance. In ESSEC Design Guide, recommended 25 meters between facing habitable windows. The proposal offers only 17 meters, just over a half what considered acceptable. Even with privacy screens, upper floor windows would directly overlook existing homes and balconies, creating the sense of enclosure and loss of privacy. Third, parking, access and congestion. The transport statement claims that follow the Lambeth methodology, but it doesn't. It includes yellow lines, restricted bays, drop curbs, and assumes that cars can park on both sides of narrow residential roads, such as Long Riding and Clayburgh Circle, which overestimate parking capacity. The development should provide 38 spaces under ESSEC standards, yet only 17 are within the site, with 2 off-street disabled bays positioned on the public road. Those bays will remove existing on-street parking, so the scheme both under-provides and reduces what residents already have. The parking survey is pre-COVID from 2019, and in 2024 it was only reviewed, not updated. Since COVID, far more people, myself included, work mostly from home, meaning cars stay parked on the street through the day, and the weekday yellow line restriction on the Long Riding make that situation worse. In summary, the proposal conflict the BRE daylight standard, the ESSEC Design Guide, and the policy HP 13 of Basildon Local Plan, which require development to protect daylight, privacy, parking, and the amenity of existing residents. In addition, proceeding with application will demolish the church, which will take away one of the few remaining places that give this neighborhood identity and connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. And now we'll go back to the committee. Is there any speakers on this, please? Kevin.
Just a couple for clarification. Really, again, the 38 parking spaces Essex standard the lady mentioned.
That's the old standard. Yeah, I would say the new standard is because it's considered to be a high connectivity area. Actually, a reduction in parking in there is only 1 space per unit rather than the 2 for the 2 and 3 beds. So it's actually only 20. It's in my page 148. It's only 25 spaces required. So there is a shortfall. As I say, it's about 6 spaces. But given for the reasons set out in the report, with the parking survey and the spaces in the area, we feel that there wouldn't be justification for refusing it on those grounds for the lack of any those spaces.
And the daylight issue?
The daylight, I say the flats in question, they've got these recessed windows sets, and they actually already are below what we call the normal daylight standard. The actual proposal itself will actually bring it slightly below, but it's not felt that that small change is going to be so significant that we could object to that on that ground as well. And so, given it was already accepted previously, it was very difficult to add that as a new reason for refusal.
So the two issues that I've raised were identical that were last time and that was okay.
The parking standard has changed since the previous one. That's changed, so it's actually more in favour of the applicant than the previous one. Yeah.
Fine, yeah, okay, just thanks for that. I have to say it's sad, if I'm being honest, at this pub's game, because it was my first drinking den at the age of 5 years of age. Every Christmas Day and Boxing Day, my dad went for a drink. Just those 2 days of the year, which go down there, and it's when I first had my first drop of port and lemonade. I do recommend it to anyone. But so yeah, it's a bit sad, but I'm in support of this application.
Thank you, Kevin. Sam.
Thank you very much, Chair. I mean, the problem again, we're losing lights, we're losing the church. Are we losing our brains? Are we losing our minds? I think we are. I think we have to take into consideration as well that, especially as the member of the public made it very clear, that the church is a huge part of the local area, and especially now St Martin's has become the hub for HMOs. The traffic is going to be absolutely atrocious down these roads, and I think if you're taking away community, spaces like the church and the pub, I think it's just going to make it again a concrete jungle, and this is not right. So I can't give my vote on this today, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I mean, just on the church side, I mean, it's very you cannot refuse something on the case of what a private landlord does to their tenants. It's just something that you can't do. I think it was. I mean, I did watch it when I was away in the 16th when we were talking about the Alpha Garden Centre. What happens with the small businesses? But it is a private tenant and a private landowner that decides what happens with their land. So you can't do anything with that. I mean, Kevin was nodding along as the officer said about secured by design. So let's hope that they get the accreditation in the design and what they do. So hopefully up to the gold standard and what we expect of developers these days. The building, other than some of it being used for that commercial, say the church and worship aspect, is very dilapidated. I know the old landlady of that venue, and she was very much the one when she was working there nearly 15, 20 years ago, was saying how sort of run down it was and then the investment that was needed in order to bring it up to safe standards to keep running it as a pub, let alone something else for community use. So it is the flats themselves. I think in terms of national space standards, they do exceed it or extend it in some cases with the balconies. Some of them are actually quite large and quite spacious in terms of the design plan that's in. The parking I believe is an issue, but we've seen this before time and again where it is in a sustainable town centre location, of which is very, very close to Basildon Town Centre. There are frequent bus services in and around the area, of which people can use, or even within walking distance to Basildon Town Centre, train stations, etc. and things. So in this particular case, I do have issues with sustainability in other applications, but this one is fairly close. So I think we can mitigate that step, as David mentioned. The parking standards have changed to do with locations like this. It's a brownfield site, of which I think it will be 20 quite spacious and hopefully well used sort of family homes for people. So I will be supporting this one this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Is there anybody else?
Yeah, why not? Thanks, Chair. I haven't got much more to add on this. I mean, it's the fact that it's 4 stories. It, as the officer said, it won't be too out of keeping compared with the rest of the road, which is all 3-storey, and the sort of the top story of this one will be back from the road. So when you're walking down, it will look same sort of same sort of height and size as the rest of the road. I know the parking is a huge issue on long riding in general, and I'm glad that this application has a designated car park rather than just adding more cars to on street parking, which is something that's already a big problem along there. So although we're questioning the number of parking spaces, at least they are off of the road. And yeah, as Councillor Myers said, the flats do look spacious, and the design, although it's not in keeping with the rest of the area, that's because the rest of the area is so outdated that that you can't really build a block of flats that looks like that anymore. So yeah, I can see very little wrong with this one.
Thank you, Alex. Is any other speakers? I'd just like to say I actually do agree with Councillor Kevin Blake on this. It's very sad when these public houses close. It really is. But apparently one closes every week. But it's a sign of the times, and if we're not needed, they're not needed. But we do have a nice new pub in the town centre, which hopefully might fill that space. And as for what Councillor Journet was saying about the church, there is lots of community halls that sort of have got vacancies, and if they possibly apply to them, they will find them a home. Because it's always sad, they've had it a long time, but the pub's been empty for a long time, so it's nice to see it go back to some sort of use. So I haven't a problem with this application, so I'll go straight in, if there's no more speakers, to the recommendation, which is that planning application number 24013734 be granted conditional planning permission subject to the completion of a legal agreement under Section 106 of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990 to secure early and late stage viability, reviews of affordable housing, bus stop improvements, financial contributions for healthcare improvements, sustainable transport, local delivery pilot scheme, employment and skills, open space enhancement, maintenance and monitoring of biodiversity game plan for a period of 30 years, Essex Coastal Recreation and Avoidance Mitigation Strategy, RAMS, monitoring and payment of the local planning authority, professional and legal fees associated with the completion of the 106 legal agreement as set out in section 5117.2 and subject to the conditions set out at the end of the report, with any amendments that might be necessary up to the issues of the decision notice. All those in favour, please show. Any abstentions? Refusals? One. That is granted. Thank you. Going on to item 6, which is planning application number 24005344, demolition of building and construction of a 3-storey building over basement parking comprising of Class E4 space at ground and first floor levels and 12 residential units at first and second floor levels and associated works, together with amendments to planning permission 19004014, part demolition, retention and refurbishment of existing building and construction of a Part 4 4-storey mixed-use building comprising of the retention of the existing gym children's activity centre, Class D2, CAF, Class A3 and yoga studio, Class D2, at ground floor, new offices, Class B1A at first floor, and 20 new residential units, Class C3, at second and third floors, with associated car parking and Development, comprising of refiguration of Class E floor space at ground level at 30 Radford Way, Billericay, Essex, CM12 ODA. Thank you. I think this is you, Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the application site falls within the Radford Way Business Park employment area, normally safeguarded for businesses. The site is located on the northern side of Radford Way in Billericay. Part of the site has already been built out for a 4-storey building with commercial ground floor, offices at first floor and 20 residential units at second and third floor levels. The application seeks planning permission for the demolition of the other half of the existing building and construction of a 3-storey building with basement car parking, commercial floor space and 12 residential units. The introduction of a residential use is not normally something that would be supported, however a mixed-use scheme has already been approved at this site, along with office to residential developments on the opposite side of Radford Way and a mixed commercial and residential scheme further along Radford Way, subject to the signing of a Section 106. Therefore, the development is considered acceptable in principle. It just shows an aerial view of the site. And then some current site photos. So you can already see phase 1 has already been built out. And this just shows the image on the left is some of the new office space in phase 1. And then some of the residential units. So this plan shows the proposed site plan for the site. The new development would utilise the existing access as part of the first development and incorporates a one-way system. Essex County Council, as the Highway Authority, have raised no objections. And a new ramp would provide access to the lower ground floor parking area, which is, if you can see my cursor, it's just here. The ground floor would also comprise of 3 commercial units, which are these 3 pink areas here. So there's one, this one, and there is another one just there. And this slide shows the proposed layout for the first and second floors. So the first floor would comprise an additional office space. So that's the purplish colour on the left image, along with 7 residential units. And then the second floor would comprise of 5 residential units, which are the colours in blue for the new residential units. This slide shows the proposed elevation of the development. So the new building would be constructed using the same materials as the first part of the development, which would provide a uniform appearance. They would also incorporate winter balconies, which have also been incorporated on the first phase of the development. To assist members, we've also included a slide showing the surrounding context of the area. So this shows the proposed development, so it is this building here. So it shows phase 1, and then also what's proposed to be built. And then just to the left of that is we've got a current application in for another mixed-use development, which hasn't come to planning committee just yet, for a similar mixed-use development. And then further along, right at the end, there's another mixed-use scheme which has been granted planning permission, subject to the signing of a Section 106. This slide just sets out the key issues for the application. And then this slide sets out the draft heads of terms which have been agreed with the applicant. Includes a number of non-monetary and monetary contributions, which includes a contribution of just under 400,000 towards affordable housing. And then this sets out the planning balance. So a very significant positive weight is given to the provision of the additional 12 dwellings, and moderate weight to the economic benefits of the development. So in conclusion, the application is recommended to members for approval, subject to securing the planning obligations set out in section 6.16 of the report, and the conditions set out at section 8 of the report, which is on pages 199 to 209 of the agenda pack. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any clarifications? Sam?
Thank you very much, Chair. Just in regards to the financial contribution for affordable housing, why are we taking £395,000 rather than taking the 25% affordable housing as per the financial viability assessment? And secondly, if we are going to take the cash, is that going to be ring fenced for the residents in Billericay, or are we going to be seeing that money spread or given somewhere else?
So in terms of the affordable housing, so the applicant submitted a viability report which concluded that they couldn't provide affordable housing on the site. This was independently reviewed by our consultants, which...
It's not what it says here. It says the outcome... Oh, sorry. It says here the outcome of the independent assessment is that the site could viably provide affordable housing contribution to the value of 25%.
Yeah, so as I'm saying, so the applicant's viability assessment concluded they couldn't provide it, and our independent review stated that they could provide 25% affordable housing. Upon review, that would equate to about 3 dwellings, so we've taken the decision to take the commuted sum rather than provide the affordable housing on site.
And in regards to that money, where is that going? Is that £395,000 for the residents of Billericay, or is it going to be spread out amongst the rest of the borough? Because I'm quite sure that the residents of Billericay would prefer the 25% affordable housing rather than a £395,000 cash injection to the council, when it might not even be guaranteed to be spent in their area.
Thanks. It's Councillor Janae. So yeah, the money would go to the council's housing department to deal with affordable housing across the borough. So it wouldn't necessarily be ring fenced to Billericay. It would be a borough wide.
So why are we not taking the houses then? Why are we not taking the affordable houses? That's what Billericay needs. Or flats. Or flats. I think they prefer the 25% affordable flats.
I mean, that's something I think that we've discussed with the housing department, and their view was that the financial contribution would be preferable in this instance. I suggest it's probably because of the low number of units that's being generated.
But 3 units is not £395,000. 3 units. I mean, if in Billericay in a nice area like this, a flat should be about £200,000. So why are we not asking for £600,000? Why are we copping out of 395?
There's a formula which we use to calculate affordable housing contribution. So we've used that formula, but it doesn't equate to kind of the market value of a flat. But there's an established formula for calculating affordable housing. So we've just utilised that. That's our standard practice.
So whereas in the rest of the borough, they get the 25 to 50% affordable housing, Billericay are losing out on that because the council wants to take a cash injection instead. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I mean this committee has dealt with a number of large-scale planning applications in Billericay, which will be delivering 50% affordable housing on site. So there's a mixture. It's case by case. In some instances, the council will seek to take a commuted sum. In other instances, will seek to deliver the affordable housing on site. So if you're land north and south of London Road in Billericay, both delivering 50% affordable housing on site. Land west of Langdon Road in Billericay will be delivering 50% affordable housing on site.
So why on this occasion are we taking £395,000 instead of the affordable housing? That's the question I want to know. Why?
As I said, I think alluded to earlier, that's been in discussion with the council's housing department, and their preference in this instance is to take the commuted sum.
But it appears this preference only appears in Billericay and nowhere else in the rest of the borough. So why has this decision been made? What mechanics were used, or what was actually used to come to that actual decision? Because as far as I'm concerned, this £395,000 is not 3 flats. So why are we not asking for more?
Because we've used there's a formula to assess affordable housing contributions, and we've used that formula, and that's generated this figure. So I mean, that's something I can take back to the housing team. If you're unhappy with the calculation, we can look at that, but that's an established calculation that we've used for quite a long time to establish the level of contributions.
Well, I'm going to be honest. If there's 3 flats going at just under, well, around £125,000 each in Billericay, I'd like to take all 3 of them. To be honest, quite frankly, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. £395,000 is not 25% or the equivalent of 25% affordable houses. These flats will be north of £180,000, £200,000. So why are we not asking for that full value? I know you're saying there's a formula, but that formula is wrong. That formula is not up to date. It's about 20 years out of date. The last time flats cost £125,000 in a place like Billericay, probably in the early 2000s. When was the last time this formula was updated?
I think, Sam, it would be best to take this up with housing. Is okay? Thank you, Kevin.
I have to say, I really didn't have much issue with this until this has been raised, if I'm being honest. Yeah, it does seem daft, and we've been passing developments on Greenbelt for God knows how long in the Burston and Billericay area of 50% affordable housing. Now we've got a chance of actually producing something that's actually in a decent sort of area to build something and give something to them, and we're not. And I do hear what Charlie said regarding this is what the housing people do. Well, that needs to be challenged, and I think possibly a way around this is, if the committee is minded, is that we literally, it's wrong. I actually do agree, it's wrong. There's this chance for the people of Billericay to actually get affordable housing in their area, and when they're going to put it all over possibly across the borough, when they've already taken a large hit with everything else, as we know. So surely, if rather than sort of take it back to the planning, the housing officer after this, surely we could defer it, defer this actual application for that to be looked into. I don't think I don't think anyone's got so much problem with the actual application itself. It's just that one major point. I agree that that's a ridiculous amount of money to give, and it's calculated because those calculations are probably based on those houses not normally being built in Billericay. That's you know that you might well find that £100,000 each. Let's be honest with you, in another area might be sort of acceptable, but in that area it's not. And so you shouldn't use the same formula for the whole borough when the boroughs are totally different in that respect. So I feel the application isn't that bad in that sense, but I do think this is a major issue that the residents of Billericay are going to miss out on, and they've already taken enough hits lately. And I just think that we could defer it back, not go to the housing afterwards, because that would actually, we're passing something and then we're going to debate it afterwards. We have the opportunity to defer that on grounds like that, not refuse it, but defer it so that we can go back to the housing people and say, in our opinion, that we actually think we should have free houses going in there, or flats going in there for the residents of Billericay. That can't be an unreasonable suggestion, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but this is the formula we're using at the moment, so this is what we've got.
I think Charlie turned around and said it was an officer's opinion not to give the free. It was an opinion. It wasn't. They had a choice. They could use that formula or give the free flats. The officer decided to go for the formula of that sum. So it's not written down in stone. They can change it and say, okay, we won't have that. The planning committee are quite in favour of the idea of these free flats going. So it's not, we don't have to use this formula. It's what officers have recommended to use that formula, if I'm understanding correctly. It's not cast in stone. We have an opportunity here to say we don't agree with officers on the formula they've used for some of the reasons that we've given. However, we don't have a problem with the application to providing it was producing free affordable housing flats for the residents of Billericay. I don't think that's an unreasonable recommendation, in all honesty. It's not ruling it out, it's just using a bit of common sense.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I completely agree with Councillor Blake, to be honest, on this one. I think if we look back at some of the previous planning applications that we've had, affordable homes have been noted around £600,000. Now, if we're looking at 395,000, that's about 60% of what an actual affordable home could be in the borough. So I think we should defer this, and I think members should consider that today. Not on the like Councillor Blake said, it's not on the basis the application's a bad application. It's just that I think the Billericay residents have been shafted, quite frankly, with an amount that should far exceed £600,000. And if they're not going to give us 3 affordable flats, then I think the money should be increased to about £500,000-600,000, in my opinion. But of course, it goes out to the other members to make that decision. But I would like to know if this could be deferred today on that basis.
Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a particular problem with Councillor Blake's suggestion personally. The only thing I would say, though, is that I think I'm correct in saying, though whilst I'm not sure the exact percentage, I think it varies development on development based upon the criteria, that obviously if you've got affordable housing, we're not giving away the house, the total value of the house. It's a relatively small percentage, so 10 or 20%. So for example, I'm kind of picking the numbers out of the sky a little bit here, but if these flats were £200,000 each, so 20% of 3 of them would be what, £120,000, which obviously is significantly less than the amount that Charles has raised. But having said that, I've got no issue at all with Councillor Blake's suggestion. If you could just understand more about how that decision was made, I'd be happy with that personally.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It is an interesting one. I feel that the issue isn't with the money per se. It's the decision. We want to know why the housing team would rather take the money than have the houses, rather than sort of overall. I mean, I'm sure they have a good reason for it. We just need to know what the reason is. So yeah, I'm fine with it if it's what all the members want to do.
Anything more to say on this?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the developer's appraisal here just to see what was concluded. So it says that they indicated 25% on-site contribution towards affordable housing is financially viable. This equates to circa 2 affordable rented units and 1 shared ownership unit. I would just comment that I suspect the reason why the housing team would be favouring the contribution is because it may be difficult to get an affordable housing provider to take such a small number of units for management and maintenance purposes. That would just be my suggestion on that point.
Would you like to come forward and press the red button? Thank you.
Right, good evening committee members. My name is Martin and I actually live in flat 3, 30 Radford Way, which is the Parkview, which is the flats currently there at the moment. And I just wanted to give you my perspective from living there. So the new planning application is obviously for flats to be attached to our building, and as you can guess, I'm strongly opposed to it. While I understand the need for development, this proposal raises several issues that would directly affect existing residents and the wider Billericay community. The proposed building will sit extremely close to our existing flats. The distance between the buildings is actually very minimal. I noted that on your positive and negative it said it block natural light. We're on the 2nd floor, and if you put a 4-storey building right next to it, we're going to be left basically in shadow. We have large glass panels on our balconies on the left hand side of the building that can directly see into our lounges, allowing light straight through into the area. But with a flat block parked right next to it, it will become more like a viewing station for people in the opposite building, give them views directly into our lounge and kitchen, evading all privacy. Or we will be literally staring at a brick wall. This will affect both our quality of life and the residents of Parkview, affecting 8 of the 20 flats on the left-hand side of the building, with the taking of natural light and privacy. The current building on the site is still incomplete. Materials and glass panelling have been left in the car park and a ground floor room which is full of building waste and rubbish. Many balconies have been damaged due to poor workmanship and water damage, leaving them exposed and unsightly for over a year with no sign of repair. There are also ongoing plumbing issues. Toilets regularly back up and the external drains collect waste, producing foul odours until a drainage team comes along to clear the blockages. The owner lives abroad in Dubai and is effectively uncontactable, leaving us to deal with letting agents and his two builder friends to tackle every issue the flat has. Allowing another construction project to start under these conditions, management and owners will only worsen the noise, disruption and lack of accountability from the existing residents and cause chaos along Radford Way, which is a busy road for commuters and the train station. The existing flats in our building are not fully occupied, partially due to the high rent and the conditions. All flats are above £2,000 per month. There are at least 7 unoccupied flats with the current building of 20. The whole first floor office space has remained empty since the development of 2 years. The whole first floor office space has remained empty since the development was completed nearly 2 years ago. Starting another block before resolving these problems seems unnecessary and irresponsible. Efforts should instead focus on completing, maintaining and improving what's already there before improving any further development. In summary, I understand I have listed quite a few problems with my own flat or flat block, and this is not always relevant to a new building. But under the same developer and non-present owner, this development will continue the cycle of unfinished low-quality construction, harming the well-being of current residents, worsen the look and the safety of the area, and does not address the actual housing problems needed for local people. We do not need more unaffordable housing or empty office spaces in Billericay, owned by someone not in the country, non-contactable, or have Billericay's interests at heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Chris? Yeah. No? Anybody?
Just I put that recommendation that we defer this to the until we have some more information on what we discussed earlier. I don't know if I need a second. Actually,
I'll second.
Mike, would you like to come in on this? No? Okay. Obviously, most people are not happy with this, so that the planning application to be sorry.
So can we take a vote on the deferral, please? All those in favour?
Just a sec, we take the vote.
Yep.
Sorry to just jump in there, but we need to be absolutely clear why we're deferring it, what we're deferring it in order to establish. So what I mean by that is my understanding is we're deferring it to so we can be given more information on why the option of a cash figure was selected as opposed to the option of the three. Yeah.
Yeah, so if we can take a vote whether in favour to vote for a deferral, so that we can get that further information as to why we've chosen to opt for a commuted sum for affordable housing rather than the provision of the housing itself. So all those in favour? Any abstentions?
Just one.
Just one.
So I think that's
yeah,
carried.
That's carried.